Nation. Today is Monday. It is the 25th day of March 2024. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope you're safe and healthy today, and that your family has also had a good weekend and is safe and healthy. And that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, who along with the first responders are every day trying to save lives. Those also that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Those also that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover. Teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People who are also victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things. Double curses on those that profit from these things. And double curses on the perverts that create the demand for these things. Finally, double blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children homeless in the United States of America and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. There's a basketball game scheduled tonight. The New York Knicks are going to be taking on the Detroit Pistons in Madison Square Garden. Aside from that, right now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a playoff race that's going to go all the way to the last game, all the way into deep April, middle of April, which is the last week of the season. I'm kind of sad about that because, that means the season's almost over and the playoffs begin, which is going to be exciting for us, but still hate to see the end of another season. So, but anyway, the Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic are separated by one game. The Knicks are a half game from Cleveland, who is the third seed. Orlando's a half game from the Knicks. The Knicks are the fourth seed. So these next couple of weeks are going to determine the seeding arrangement. Now, all three teams are going to be in the playoffs, obviously. It's just what seed you're going to be. So the thing is now that the Knicks have been pretty much the fourth seed for a long time. They have a chance to go into the third seed. And so it's important that we see these schedules for the next few games. Now, I am really thinking that the Knicks are trying to save OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and Julius Randle for like a week before the playoffs. It looks like that. And especially this appears to be true because of the success that Tom Thibodeau has had playing what I call the Midget squad, which is Jalen Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, Deuce, and Hartenstein. So there's been success with that lineup. And so I'm thinking maybe he rides that lineup during this week right here and gives another week of those three big ones to come back so that maybe next week. And if you look at the schedule, it makes sense. So we got Detroit tonight. We're at Toronto on Wednesday, at San Antonio on Friday. And then you have, those are the three games that are fairly winnable. Then you have Oklahoma City, at Miami, and then you got at home at Sacramento. So I'm thinking that the Oklahoma City, Miami, Sacramento, I'm hoping we can see our guys. This week with Detroit, Toronto, and San Antonio, I'm thinking we can go to war with the Midgets, and we have a good chance of coming out on top. Because now, aside from those guys I named, those five guys that Tom Thibodeau has been starting, you still have Precious Achiuwa, you have Jericho Sims, and it looks to me like Burks, Alec Burks is outplaying Bodega. Alec Burks is outplaying Bodega. So that being the case, he probably goes with Burks instead of Bodega, although size-wise, you would expect him maybe to use Bodega because he's 6'7", and Burks is like 6'5", but looks like the team plays better defense with Burks than they do with Bogdanovich. So I expect maybe he's going to go with that. He's going to shorten the rotation, and he's been giving Sims even more minutes a couple of games than Precious. I'm not saying Precious is slacking off. I don't think Tom thinks Precious is slacking off, but Sims is fresher right now. He has the fresher legs, and so that's important. It's not that it's, Precious was playing 30 and 40 minutes also in the recent stretch. So now Sims is the fresher leg, which is why he's running Deuce so much. between Deuce, Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart. Deuce is definitely the freshest of all of them. So that's why he's running him a lot. And he's not going to lose anything. He's not giving up anything in terms of effectiveness by these strategies. So that being the case, I think he's going to run the same crew for Detroit, Toronto, and San Antonio, and then hope for the 31st of March, which is next Sunday, you get back at least two out of your three bigger guns, right? So you get, if you can get OG and MitchRob back, or you can get Drew back with them, then you can go against now Oklahoma City, Miami, Sacramento. You're still gonna have Chicago, at Milwaukee, at Chicago, then of course at Boston. That's gonna go. Now the Boston game, I don't know how that's gonna go, because Boston has basically run away with the East, and they have wrapped up playoff position. They're probably gonna have wrapped up the East by the time we go to April 11th. So they may not be playing their starters a full game. Especially, you don't want to take a chance with Kristaps Porzingis and lose him for the playoffs. If you nursed him to get him to here, I don't know if we have to be facing. I don't know if that's going to be as big a game for them as it may be for us. And then you got Brooklyn again, and you finish the season with Chicago. So in these last 12, 11 games, actually in these last 12 games, you got Chicago 3 times. If I'm looking at that right, we got Chicago 3 times. That's right. We got Chicago April 5th, April 9th, and April 14th. The final game of the season is at home against Chicago. So for now, I'm thinking we can get away with the midget crew and really ride Deuce's hot streak right now for Detroit, Toronto, and San Antonio. And then hopefully a week from now, we start to get back our guys. I thought they'd be back already, but it appears to me, I don't think as much as of a scenario as they're not ready, as much a scenario as the Knicks are trying to say, okay, we're winning right now. We got the 4th seed without them. How long can we keep this up? And then we have to bring them back and get them closer to be playoffs for us rather than regular season. So I think it's a good strategy. And now for Cleveland right now has a cupcake for the next 2 games. They got a home and home. They're at home against Charlotte. Then they go to Charlotte on Wednesday. But then they got Philly, Denver, and Utah. They got Philly at home, at Denver, at Utah, at Phoenix, at the Lakers. And all of those games are going to be important for all of those teams. So I think Cleveland has the toughest schedule of the 3 closing this next week of the season. Now, I think they're going to get back Donovan Mitchell. If they don't, he'll be reevaluated in a week. Okay, a nasal fracture. So he's going to be reevaluated in a week. That was news on March 19th. That means he's going to be reevaluated this week. So I'm expecting him to be back when they go through that murderer's row. Dean Wade has a knee. Max Strus, who's an important piece, he's out with looks like a knee issue. And then, of course, Ty Jerome's been out most of the season. But Max Strus is a very important piece for them in the playoffs. And, of course, Donovan Mitchell is the ultimate piece for them. So I'm expecting those guys to be ready to play when they come into that murderer's row of away games where they got to go out west and play those top teams. Orlando has Golden State now. Orlando has had Golden State's number this year. So I don't even think that's a threat to them. I think they beat them. And then they got the Clippers at home. That's going to be a battle. But the third game's against Memphis, who hasn't been good this year, with all the turmoil and everything going on. But that Memphis game's on Saturday night. It's the second night of a back-to-back. Then they then they got Portland coming in. Then they got at New Orleans, at Charlotte. So they got the easiest, I think, schedule. I mean, Charlotte, Portland, Memphis, Golden State. Those are games they should win. So I'm thinking that at this stage of the season, Orlando's got the easiest schedule. But this is the grind part. So we're going to see everybody's getting tested right now. And so this is really going to go down to the last week of the season between us, Orlando, and Cleveland as far as playoff seeding. Now, why is it important? Well, as I mentioned, the playoff seeding, if the playoffs were to start today, the Knicks would play Orlando in a 7-game series. The Knicks are the 4th seed. Knicks would have home court advantage. Cleveland would play the Pacers in a 7-game series. And then, of course, the Celtics would play whoever comes out of the play-in in the 8th seed, and the Bucks would play whoever comes out of the play-in in the 7th seed. Now, this is the thing. The play-in, as much as anything, is like last year you saw Miami come out of the play-in and get to the finals. That's a rare thing. But I'm expecting Miami to be tough again in the play-in and maybe come out of the play-in in the 7th seed. Okay, they would be playing the Bucks. Now, between the Sixers, the Hawks, and the Bulls, you'd think with Embiid would probably be back for the play-in. I think they're saving Embiid for the play-in. So Embiid would be back for the play-in. You'd think it'd probably be the Sixers taking on the Celtics in a 7-game series. They lose that series. So then you end up with the Celtics against 76ers, Bucks against the Heat, and New York against Orlando. That's not a bad playoff matchup for us because as good as Orlando is, I don't think they can beat the Knicks in a 7-game series if the Knicks are fully healthy. And I expect that the way the Knicks are strategizing, the Knicks will be fully healthy for the playoffs. So Cleveland against the Pacers, that's a toss-up, but I got to give Cleveland the edge there if that was to go today. Of course, the Bucks will beat they will beat the Miami Heat. I mean, last year, if you recall, they were without Giannis. That's what started their streak. They were without Giannis, and Miami beat them. That ain't gonna be the case this year. Okay, so the Bucks, if that was the case, the Bucks would catch Heat coming out of the play-in and beat them, and then the Celtics would have to play the Sixers, and the Celtics would beat the Sixers. Sixers and Celtics have been going down hard for a minute, and they're gonna probably beat the Sixers this year. So it's going to be the Knicks would have a good shot at getting into the second round. Then we have to see what happens. So that's if it ended today. Now, if the Knicks are able to get the 3rd seed, they would be taking Cleveland's place because I'm pretty sure that unless there's a total collapse for anybody, that Indiana is going to be locked in at the 6th seed. The Knicks would be playing Indiana in a 7-game series, and Cleveland would be playing the Magic in a 7-game series. So all of this is still up in the air. But tonight we got Detroit. Now we got to take one game at a time. But that's what's good about Tiz playing the Midgets. There's nobody on earth that's going to be, Jalen Brunson's going to take lightly. That ain't going to happen. DiVincenzo ain't going to take nobody lightly. That ain't going to happen. Deuce ain't going to take nobody lightly. And neither is Hart. You got these 3 guys play with heart. Okay, they play passionate. They want to win. They want to compete. Hartenstein wants to compete. And then you got Sims, you have Bodega Bum, and you got Burks Bum, but I think Burks will probably get more minutes, and you still got Precious. All of these guys are not... See, Julius Randle is a guy that has a habit of coming into a game, taking a game lightly. He has shown that. And that kind of proliferated throughout the teams on some years, see? But that's not an issue right now. So none of these guys are going to take Detroit lightly. So they're going to come in to play against Detroit. So, and I think yesterday I was questioning whether Cade Cunningham was out. Cade Cunningham apparently did miss the game yesterday. It's the second night of a back-to-back. I'm expecting him tonight. This is not, don't take this lightly. So we got to get this win against Detroit tonight. And I'm pretty confident that none of the guys that are in the rotation right now are going to take this game lightly. They're not going to sleep on Detroit. So you have that. Then of course there's Toronto, and Toronto right now is pretty beat up. I mean, Quickly had personal reasons because somebody died in his family, praying for his family. So does RJ. RJ had personal reasons. His brother died. So neither of them have been in the lineup. Chris Boucher has an MCL tear. He's out. Podol went surgery and he's out. Scotty Barnes underwent surgery and he's out. So they're without a lot of guns. And I wouldn't be surprised if those guys are still out come Wednesday when the Knicks have to play them. So it's not a game to be taking anybody lightly, but it looks pretty good in terms of favorability to the Knicks. So that's why I'm saying they have to knock out these games while they can with the Midgets and let their guys that's coming back still be ready, refreshed, and rested when it's time for the playoffs. And it looks pretty good. We're in a pretty good position, actually. And so I'm thinking, again, if we can get our guys back for the last couple weeks or the last week of the season, it'd be good. And especially if we can hold it down and maybe even take the third seed this week. None of the three teams, the Knicks, Orlando, or Cleveland, can afford to, like, Cleveland cannot afford to lose either of these games to Charlotte. These are gimmies. See, you can't have your toe stub right here. Okay, this is where nitty gritty time comes in the NBA, right here. So they got Charlotte back and back. They got to take care of business against Charlotte, because if they don't, that's when you start to lose playoff position. See, so right now they got a home and home against Charlotte. They got the Cleveland Cavs got to get, but then they got Philly, at Denver, at Utah, at Phoenix, at Lakers. They'll have Donovan Mitchell back for those games, and they're going to need him. So this is still up in the air. So Cleveland, to me, of the three, like I mentioned, they got the toughest upcoming schedule. And so they are vulnerable to be taken from that third seed. They are. All three of these teams are going to be third through fifth. That's how this is going to shake out. So the question is, who's going to be third, who's going to be fourth, who's going to be fifth. The fourth and fifth seed are going to play each other, with the fourth seed getting the home court advantage. The third seed will play the sixth seed, right? So whoever's third seed plays Indiana. Okay? And fourth and fifth are going to play each other, but fourth gets the home court advantage. Okay? So that's what everybody's playing for right now. It's a war within the war, see? So like I said, this is going to be interesting. And the Knicks are in a very good position, having had success with their midget squad and being able to play them while OG gets rest and gets rehab on his elbow. Juke gets rehab on his shoulder. And MitchRob's already ready. I believe MitchRob's ready to come back. I think they strategically keeping him out for now. But like I said, when it comes down to this last week in the Murderers Row, I think everybody be ready. And so Cleveland, Orlando, Knicks, nobody can afford to stub their toe. That's why they're not going to take these guys coming up lightly. This is for real for everybody. Okay? Well, watch that game tonight. I'm going to be watching it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Enjoy your Monday. Shalom.